Hello all, good morning, good evening or good afternoon based on wherever you are seeing this. So finally we are on the week 5 of our LinkedIn BCOpenQuiz, and today we'll discuss about the right answers of the questions that we have asked in the previous week. Thank you for all your votes. Thank you for all your comments that you're making on videos or on the questions. It kind of helps me to kind of continue doing this or not, but let's get into it. The number of people who participated this week has reduced from last week, but I guess still, if anyone is interested into these quizzes, I'll continue doing this. Okay, so let's get into it. So the first question, as previous week, was which of the following table type is not supported in Business Central Online or Business Central Cloud? Now the options were CRM, Microsoft Graph, CDS, and temporary. With 139 votes onto this question, 14% people thought it's CRM, 63% people thought it's Microsoft Graph, and 19% people thought it's CDS, and 4% thought it's temporary. And the correct answer is Microsoft Graph. And let's check that. So let me open my VS Code and let's try creating all these types of tables. So I'll just create a new table somewhere. Okay. Yes, there is a table. So okay, I'll just create a new one, otherwise new file test.al. Okay, and let's create the table and let's give it ID. Okay, now if I do a table type CRM, or table type is equal to CRM. If I correct this, because there's a name issue here. Okay, my object compiles, and these type of tables are used when you are doing CRM integration with Business Central, and there are a lot of them available in Business Central by default. So you can just go into your AL Explorer and see CRM tables, or go to Base App and search for CRM, and you'll see there are a lot of tables that Microsoft have which are used for CRM integration. The next is CDS. In the same way as we saw CRM, if you're doing a CDS integration, you can define the table type as CDS, and in the same way you can search for them here. Now there is a table type temporary, and this extension is cloud optimized, so let's try doing temporary, and there's no error. But when we try to do Microsoft Graph, it starts giving me an error here. It says that the Microsoft Graph property can only be used for on-prem. You can't use them on Business Central Cloud or SaaS offering. Okay, so hopefully that clears the answer. Most of the people have answered it correctly. That's good. Let's move ahead. So the next question was, what is not true, about temporary tables? We just talked a little bit about temporary table. We'll go into a little bit detail into this question. With 134 votes onto this question, 17% people thought that this statement is incorrect, which is not synchronized with SQL database. 5% people thought that you cannot make destructive changes in temporary tables. 15% people thought that it holds data in memory until table is closed, and that is incorrect. Whereas 63% people thought that it stores data in database. And yes, the majority of the people who answered it thought it correctly, that a temporary table never stores data into your SQL Server. It's kind of a virtual table, or it's kind of a replacement of how we used to do temporary property on a variable for a particular table. So let's quickly see it. That should help. So let me get into VS Code and let's find one of the base Microsoft table which is marked as temporary, and there are quite a few that Microsoft have marked it. They were actual table in the past, till this property was not announced. But let's look at our favorite invoice post buffer, something like that. Invoice post buffer is a table which is used during your posting of your documents, right? and it is supposed to temporarily store the data into the memory while the sales order is being posted. In one of the version, Microsoft decided to change this table type to temporary. Now what happens when you define this table type temporary, and we'll get into the options now, is when you go into your SQL server and try to search for this table, invoice post buffer, let's say first search it on BC14. So if I try to filter it out on BC14, and because dots are not supported, if you don't know how this happens, why dot is not supported and all, let me know into the comments, we'll talk about it. But you can see that in BC14 we will be able to find the table which is an actual table back then. When you look into the later version of Business Central and try to apply the same filter on the table name, you will not find that table because that table is marked as temporary and it is not even counted against your customer license. So remember that if you are doing something where instead of creating a temporary variable, you can actually create a temporary table which will hold data in memory until it is closed. You can make destructive changes. So even if you are building for Business Central Cloud, because there is no schema of it is that is getting stored in the SQL server, you can make destructive changes and that's allowed. And as I said, and as I showed you on SQL Server, these tables are not synchronized on your SQL database. So temporary tables should be used in the situation where you have to virtually store some data momentarily for your processes. Hopefully that clarifies the question. Let's move ahead. So the next one was, which of the following properties cannot be extended? And these are the properties that we are talking about. Table properties with 110 votes into it. 6% people thought that we cannot extend a caption property. 28% people thought we cannot extend a drill down page ID. 55% people thought we cannot extend the replicate data property, and 10% people thought that we cannot change or extend data caption field. So let's give it a try. Okay, so we will create a table extension. Let's do it for, and let me clear this. Okay, 0105, and let's say my extension 1 extends, let's say customer. Okay, and let's test it out. Okay, so in my extension, can I do a caption? Can I change the caption of the table? Yes, I can. I can write that sort of, and that will not give me a compilation error. So I can extend caption. Can I extend drill down page ID? Can I change what page will open when the customer table is being referenced? I can surely do customers, my customers. That's a list page associated with it. And if that's a valid page, you can change the drill down page ID if needed. The next one is, and let's go from here, data caption field. Data caption field, as we talked about, are the fields that you see from left to right. By default, it is number and name, and I want to change it to, let's say, name and address. Let's say I can still do that. Okay, by default, the customer table is set to replicate true. Okay, and when I say replicate, I don't see a suggestion here to change the replicate data property. So you cannot decide which table, if it is not part of your extension, will be replicated to cloud or not. That is not extensible. That will only be decided by the original app owner. In this case, the customer table comes from Microsoft extension. So Microsoft dictates which table will be replicated and which of these will not be. So the correct answer, as we saw, is replicate data, that you will not be able to extend the replicate data property or change the replicate data property, which majority of people thought it's the right answer, and everybody is correct who answered that. Okay, moving forward. Which object range is reserved for localization, or localization of Business Central? When you try to build a regional specific customization in your Business Central environment. And when I say you, it's majorly Microsoft, which I was thinking about it. The options were 0 to 49,999, this number to this, and this to this. And with 166 votes into this, these are how people voted: 25%, 44, and 19, and 12. Now on this, there came a very interesting comment, and I would like to open that if I can. Let me see if I have it somewhere handy. Came from Tom, which is very interesting. So Tom commented on this question, on the question that we are looking at, is not sure what you mean by the question. Is it partner localized or Microsoft? Because both have different range, which I should have taken care or being very specific in the question. So sorry for that, Tom, or anyone else who got confused with this question. But so let me try to explain you what Tom meant, or what I meant with this question. So let's go back in history. In Dynamics NAV, there was a specific range of object IDs and field ID that Microsoft used to reserve for worldwide customization or development. And then there was a specific range for country and region, and then there was a specific range for partners, and then there is specific ranges for ISV apps that are built. Within Business Central, the rules of the game remain same, but then, as Tom commented, there are some localized versions of Business Central where the localization is not built by Microsoft. It is a partner-led localization. One of the examples is India, where Microsoft didn't directly build in the localization piece of Business Central. It's a partner-led localization. So in that case, the localization range is different because that's a partner-led localization. But the question was around the Microsoft range, which I'm clarifying now, and that makes the answer correct as this. And I have a pretty old blog about it from 2013. Okay, and this blog gives you the Microsoft article reference where it says that any object that you see, and it's still true on a Microsoft-led localization, between this range, or if the field is in this range, it is restricted or fixed for Cronus International, which is the W1 version. Then from this range to this range, it is for country, region, design area, where countries localization will be there. So for India, this range will use for GST and other localization feature. The same range will be used for North America to do sales tax and other things. And the same follows for all other countries that use that have NAV or Business Central back then. We all know about this range because this is the customer design area where we build majority of our PTEs. And back then, this was the only range that was available for the certified partner design area, where you see all your ISVs in this range. The same rules are also applied for the fields, not just for the tables. So having said that, I should have been very clear on this question, but hopefully you get the intent that I was asking about the reserved range for localization by Microsoft, not for the partner-led customization. And this is the correct range that is available as of today. So sorry anyone else and Tom who got confused with this question, but the intention was to find out what is that range for Microsoft localization. Okay. Moving forward, the next question was also on the object ID range. That if you are developing an extension for on-prem and online, which object range should you use or request from Microsoft? So what happens is, when you're building an extension, you can only make it for cloud, or you can only make it for on-prem, or you might want to have that extension available for on-prem customers and cloud customers. So as I said earlier, there are different ranges that you can do that kind of development. And with 131% vote, I guess majority of people thought that this is the range, which is 33%. But the correct answer was this, where only 11% people thought that this was the range. Now, if needed, let me know into the comments. I'll put the link of Microsoft documentation into it. But then there was another interesting comment into it. That isn't the object range lies between 50,000 to 99,000, and yes, that lies between there, but that is only for PTEs. So the question was that if you are building an extension that should be available for on-prem customer as well as for online or PC SaaS customer, which of these range should you be using? And the correct answer is the 10 million range. And as I said, if you need, I'll find out the link, let me know into the comment section and add it into your response to your question if you have that, where I can see these different ranges. Okay, so the next question is, which of the following object in Business Central can have maximum name length of 120 character? And all these questions around the name length are coming from Tom's suggestion, because he commented on one of the previous week question about it. But these are the different options, where based on 100 votes on this question, 34% people thought it's profile, 18% thought it's interface, 22% thought it's permission set, and 26% thought it's enum. Now we have tested most of it, but then the 120 character max length of the name of an object is associated with interface. You cannot go beyond 120 characters, but which is a pretty long name for an interface. But the correct answer here, which is given by 18% of the people, is interface. Is the enum right answer or profile? I haven't tested it, and last time I was wrong, so maybe I need to quickly check it. So let's create a profile. Okay, and let's give it a name. Okay, and I'm just randomly typing some words to see where it stops me. Still okay. So the profile is limited to 30 characters. So profile is surely not the right answer, where 34% people voted. Let's look at the enum also quickly. Okay, 50123, and let's do again some random words here. Okay, and I get an error. What is that? 30 characters. So you cannot go in the enum also 30 characters. So the right answer is interface, where you can go till 120 characters. So if I create a interface, I can actually go to a very big length. Okay, as in you don't have to, just because you can do, you should not have such long names. But let's see. Okay, so the maximum length that it can support is 120 characters. So the interface is the object where the maximum name length is 120 character, and interestingly, interface is also the object which does not require an object ID, and there are other objects also for that matter. Okay, moving to the next question. What does it mean when a table is set to internal, access as internal in Business Central? With 113 votes into it, 17% people thought that it can, if a table is set to internal, it can be accessed in the same module, where 2% people thought that it can be accessed in all modules. 14% people thought it can be extended in the same module, and 6% people thought it can be extended in all the modules. So let's try to kind of understand it, because there is surely a little bit of confusion that seems around the access property. So first, let's check a standard Microsoft internal table. There are quite a few internal tables, but let me see if I can find some of these here. And there are a lot of it. I'll just randomly pick something. Oh, I guess upgrade tag, because I come from upgrade. Upgrade tag is a table which is marked as access internal. Okay, so what I'm trying to do is trying to extend this or utilize this table into my extension, where I'm taking a dependency on the system application, of course, right? So let's see if I try to create a variable, say called upgrade tag. Okay, and mark it as for record, which is a table for upgrade tag. I should get a warning that the table system upgrade tags is inaccessible due to its protection level. So when you set a table as access internal, you surely cannot access it in other modules. Now let's check it out that can I and this cannot also be extended on the other modules. Now let's check out, can it be extended in the same module or can it be accessed in the same module? So what we'll do is we will just quickly create a table. If we have any here, we'll just set that. Okay. So if I define this as access internal to my table, then we are very clear that this table will not be, no one will be able to use it outside my app. That's very clear. They can't even refer it, they can't create a variable on it. So it's just protected by setting up access internal. But can I extend this is the another question in the same module. Well, now we can do that. So let's see if I do a table extension of 50988 and my extension 5, and let's say I'm trying to extend my table. Okay. So okay, let me do 180. Okay, so okay, 1056. Okay. So it seems I can extend the table which I have marked internal within the same module. That's possible. I can extend it, and then I can surely access the same table into the same module. So both of these are correct answer, but from the documentation perspective, it says that you can only access an object which is marked as internal in the same extension. You can't access it externally. Maybe this need to be clarified by Microsoft that we can extend it the same table in the same module, which should be the right answer also. So my mistake, I should have tested this out, but both of them are correct that it can be accessed in the same module and it can be extended in the same module. Okay, so those were the questions from the previous week. I'll add the link of temporary tables or the access internal documentation in the pinned comment or in the description section of video. And then I'll see you sooner than later into the next week questions. Please keep voting. If you think you are learning from these questions on LinkedIn, please do share this so that we all learn it together. There are quite, I have a limited set of people who are in my network, and I would like to have access to all these questions that we are putting on LinkedIn to everyone who is using Business Central some way or other. It hardly takes a minute or even less than a minute to answer these questions. So let's try to share these questions so that more people get access to it. It gets a better reach and we see a lot of participation, and that also helps us to understand, not just me, but other members who participate or add to the community by either YouTube, by writing blogs and all, to understand where it seems the majority of gap is, and then start making content which helps us as a group. So if you think that this is helping you, please do share these questions, not the video, questions in your LinkedIn so that the more people get access to it. Just a spoiler alert, we are about to finish the more or less the season 1 of it. The follow-up questions that will start coming up next week after 2-3 questions, I guess, will get into table keys. So if you are still not sure about the keys part, what have changed, how things happens in keys, keep continue looking at the questions on my LinkedIn profile. We'll surely delve into other areas of Business Central. If you have any suggestions, drop it into the comments. I'll surely try to do wherever it makes sense. Right now I'm doing it from the beginning and seeing how things are moving there. Okay, so I'll see you next week. I might be out next week, so I might record earlier next week, and then we'll continue it the following week. So let me know into the comment section what you think about it. Thank you if you are still here and watching this, and then I'll see you tomorrow with the next question on LinkedIn. Thank you. Have a nice day.